We have discussed about decimation filter in the previous session. So we just look into the algorithm of developing a decimation filter. So initially what we have is a decimation filter initialization process which has to be done. So this process requires auxiliary registers which can be used as a pointer for pointing to a particular buffer which can hold a sample, followed by another auxiliary register which can be used for the coefficients which can be stored in a circular buffer which is also acting as a pointer. So here in this case we are going to consider AR2 auxiliary register 2 as the pointer for the sample circular buffer. So that can be seen here. So this is AR2 which is a pointer for the sample circular buffer, and AR3 it is again a pointer for coefficient circular buffer. Then AR0, so this is the auxiliary register 0 which will be storing the pointer increment value which is 1. So it is storing the pointer incrementing value which is 1. Then BK stands for the number of filter tabs which is based on the buffer size. So BK represents the buffer size, so which includes the number of filter tabs. So these are the auxiliary registers which are required for the initialization routine or process of a decimation filter. Then this is a decimation filter initialization. So this is a label what I have taken for decimation initialization, and we are going to have a code for storing the coefficient and the sample. So here AR3, as already discussed, AR3 is the pointer for the coefficient values, and AR2 is the pointer for a sample. So these are the code, these are the lines what we write ST, that is store the coefficients in AR3. So coefficients are stored in the auxiliary register 3. Similarly, store the sample into AR2. So samples are stored in the auxiliary register AR2. So these two are the pointers. Then STM, that is storing the memory in BK. BK is nothing but the number of filter tabs. So whatever value we consider in the form of a memory, so that will be transferred to a BK, which is representing the size, which is the number of filter tabs. Then we are going to repeat this process. So we are going to transfer the number into the buffer, which is the filter tabs or the filter values. Then we are going to place the coefficient in a circular buffer. So we are just moving the coefficient into the circular buffer. Then we are going to repeat the same by clearing the circular sample buffer. Then storing 0 to AR2, so that the value in AR2 is cleared, and AR2 is storing the value which is the count for increment. So increment pointer which is pointed by AR0 which stores 1, and return. So this process has to continue. So this is nothing but a decimation initialization routine. So this is filter initialization routine. So this routine is to be considered for this process. Then comes the FIR filter routine. Again, in the FIR filter routine, we come across the accumulator A. Accumulator will store the sample x of n. So x of n holds a set of values, and these are stored in the accumulator. And AR2, auxiliary register 2, which is pointing to the circular sample buffer or the sample, and AR3 to the circular coefficient buffer. So AR0 is 1. So AR0 is used to increment by 1. So that is what we are going to store in AR0 or AR0. So these three are the pointers which are required, and the accumulator normally used to store the result as well, which is y of n. So exit with a equal to y of n, and this y of n will be in Q15 format. So that is the number what we consider Q15 format. Then this is the decimation filter routine. Earlier we discussed about initialization. So once the initialization is completed, we go with the decimation filter code. So initially we are going to place the samples in the accumulator from AR5. So this is how we are going to load the value of the filter from the auxiliary register AR5 into the accumulator. Then STL, that is storing the lower byte of the sample. So storing the lower byte of the sample into AR2 from the accumulator. So this is stored or transferred into the signal buffer. Similarly, again, loading of the sample has to be done. So this process is going to continue for the next two cases, because we are going to place next three samples. We are going to consider the three samples. Then that code is repeated, LD and STL, load and again store the lower byte, again load and store the lower byte. So three samples are been retrieved from the buffer, and we are going to repeat it until value of A is 0. So value of A is 0. We are going to do that, or clearing the value of A, that is done by using this instruction. Then we follow MAC operation or MAC instruction, wherein we are going to multiply these samples with the coefficients, and we are going to add it. So we are going to multiply and accumulate. So this is the content of AR3, this is the content of AR2, and the content of A. So accumulator content and the content of AR2, that is auxiliary register 2, which is pointing to a sample, AR3, which is pointing to a coefficient. So they are going to be multiplied and they are going to be accumulated. So A is a signal, which is a filtered signal here. Then we are going to return to the main program, and we are going to use the assembler directive of ending the particular FIR filter code here. We move to FFT algorithm. So how to implement this FFT algorithm? We already know that what is the actual difference we find between DFT and FFT. So what is the benefit of using FFT instead of directly moving with the finding the DFT using an equation? So by using a conventional method, we know that it's a time consuming process and it is a complex task to implement. So to avoid that, we go with the FFT algorithms. Now this is the formula which can be used to find the DFT. So x of k is this particular equation, and Wn power kn is the twiddle factor used to find the twiddle factor values, which can be multiplied with the sample x of n to get the DFT samples x of k. Similarly, the inverse DFT, what we consider it as IDFT, is calculated by this particular equation x of n, which is equal to 1 by n summation of k is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of k into Wn power minus k into n. So this is what we use in the form of a formula to find x of k, and its inverse DFT x of n, which is the original sequence. Now we have already referred to some of the equation which is used to find DFT and IDFT in the previous slide. So we just go with the complexity of DFT and IDFT. So computing of each term x of k or x of n, we go with n complex number of multiplications and n minus 1 complex number of additions. So this is a complexity when we consider multiplication and addition while finding DFT or finding IDFT. Similarly, computation of all the terms x of n, k or x of n is nothing but we go with n2 complex number of multiplications and n into n minus 1 complex number of additions. So complexity is in the order of n power 2 or n square. So this is what we consider if we go with the multiplication and addition which is carried out to find the DFT using a DFT equation, or IDFT using IDFT equation. So we go with some process, that is IDFT is taken to get the signal in its original domain, what we normally consider, that is from time to frequency domain we are just converting it, and again from frequency domain to time domain again we are going to reconvert it, that is finding its inverse. So that is what we have done earlier. So taking that into account, we are going to we are going to use it for finding DFT and IDFT and writing a small algorithm to develop that. Before that, we are going to go with the process of what is a twiddle factor and how to find some values which are required based on the real and imaginary part of the equation of this particular DFT term. Done. So this is what we have considered earlier, x of n, and finding the DFT and processing the signal using a DSP system or DSP processor. And once the DFT is obtained, we are going to find the inverse DFT of that, so that we recover the original signal y of n, which is same as x of n. So here what we get is x of k, and here what we get is x of n. So y of n is nothing but the output, which is equal to the input x of n. So this is how we consider the DFT and inverse DFT in the process. So as DFT and IDFT is a part of a signal processing, we just go with the fast computation of a DFT. So that is done by using FFT algorithm. The same concept here is considered. So there are two FFT algorithms. One is decimation in time FFT, that is in short it is termed as DIT FFT, and decimation in frequency FFT, in short it is termed as DIF FFT. So the computational complexity of both the algorithms will be of the same order, log n to the base 2. So this is how we find the complexity of the algorithms, whether it is DIT or whether it is DIF. So from the hardware and software implementation viewpoint or consideration, the algorithm will have a similar structure throughout the computing task or throughout the computation. So whatever implementation we are going to do for DIT or DIF FFT, so that remains same, that remains similar. So in place computation is possible, reducing the requirement of a large memory location. So that is what we require. We have to reduce the um, requirement of a memory location. So that should be lesser. So the features are considered for FFT, that is a sequence which is decimated by a factor of 2. So that is time domain sequence. If I go with DIT, and DIF FFT, it is frequency domain sequence or DFT sequence. So here the input sequence, if I consider in DIT FFT, it is in a bit reversed order. So the input will not be in a natural or a proper order, it will be a bit reversed order, whereas the output sequence will be in a proper or a natural order. Whereas in DIF FFT algorithm, it is reverse, that is the input sequence is in natural order or a proper order of a sequence, whereas the output is in a bit reversed order, like x of 0, x of 1, x of 2, x of 3. So this is the proper order or a natural order of a sequence, whereas in a bit reversed order it depends on the value of n. If I consider the value of n is 4, then I can take it as x of 0, x of 4, x of 2, x of 2 and x of 3. So like that it goes if I go with DIT and DIF FFT algorithm. So if I consider that in the form of an equation by just inserting a concept of signal flow graph for this DIT FFT computation process, so I just establish a relation between input and output, so which are arriving with some equation. So here I have taken one equation, x of 0 equal to x of 0 into W2 to power 0. So here is one term which is a product term. So here one multiplication process is being carried out. So this is a sample x of 0 and this is the multiplier, which is a twiddle factor value, and these two are multiplied. So this is the first multiplication done. Similarly, this is the second multiplication done. Now if I consider this value W2 power 0, it is 1, and this W2 power 0, it is again 1. Then that changes this equation to x of 0 into 1 plus x of 1 into 1, which is giving us x of 0 plus x of 1. Similarly, x of 1, the next sample, which is a DFT sample or DFT sequence, equal to x of 0 into W2 power 0 plus x of 1 into W2 power 1. Now this W2 power 1 is minus 1. So this results in minus 1. So this value is a complex, this value is conjugate of this actually. So it is x of 0 into 1 plus x of 1 into minus 1. So that is giving us an equation x of 0 minus x of 1. So this is what we form an equation. So this is the butterfly diagram, or what we consider here as a signal flow graph for that equation. So this is x of 0 into w minus 1. So that is x of 1. Then x of 0 will be equal to x of 1 into plus 1. So this is plus 1. So that is what that is the equation what we have already seen in the previous slide. Now this is the equation what we can form for a general butterfly structure for endpoint DIT FFT computation process. So AR plus J into AI. So here R represents the real part of a sequence, I represents the imaginary part of a sequence. Similarly, here R represents real part of a sequence, I represents imaginary part of a sequence. And here AR dash and AI dash represents the complement of AR and AI, whereas BR and BI is the complement of BR dash, and BI dash represents the complement of BR and BI, and Wn power R. So this represents the Twiddle factor. So this is a generalized butterfly structure for endpoint DIT FFT computation. So if I apply the same for 8-point DFT computation or DIT FFT computation, then this is a process of this is the signal flow graph for the process. So x of 0, x of 4, x of 2, x of 6, x of 1, x of 5, x of 3, x of 7. So these are the input sequences which are in a bit reversed order, and these are the output sequence which are in a proper or a natural order. So x of 0, x of 1, x of 2, and so on till x of n, if I consider it as 8-point sequence. And this is divided based on the number of points. So if n is equal to 8, it means that it is equal to 2 power 3. So that 3 represents the number of stages. So if I say 2 power n, and if n is 3, then it is 3 stages. So this is the first stage, this is the second stage, and this is the third stage of FFT. Then, so this is just signal flow graph output what we can write from that signal flow graph. AR dash plus J into AI dash is equal to AR plus J into AI plus this product. Similarly, BR dash plus J BI dash is equal to AR plus J into AI minus this particular product, similar to x of 0 into 1 plus x of 1 into 1, and x of 0 into 1 plus x of 1 into minus 1. Now we just separate the real and imaginary parts. The 4 equations we are going to consider, one is for real term, one is for imaginary term. So we get 2 real terms, one is for A, one is for B. Similarly, 2 imaginary terms, one is for A and one is for B. So this is how we are going to segregate or separate this into real and imaginary parts. Next, by observation we see that n is equal to 2 power m, that is the number of stages in the signal flow graph equal to m. The same thing what I told, n is equal to 2 power n if I consider it as small n represents the number of stages. So here we have taken it as 2 power m, m represents the number of stages, and this m depends on the value of n. So if the value of n is 8, this is nothing but 3, it indicates 3 stages. If the value of n is 4, it represents 4 stages. Sorry, value of n is 16, it represents 4 stages. So value of n is the higher order, say 16, 32, 64, then it is more. The number of stages are going to increase, that depends on the value of n. And the number of multiplications and additions can be obtained by considering this equation, n by 2 into log n to the base 2, which indicates the number of multiplications, and n by 2 into log n to the base 2, which indicates the number of additions. So that is what we consider in this. And number of butterfly structures per stage is n by 2. So butterfly structure is going to be n by 2. So if it is 8 point, it is 4 structures per stage. Then, so in case FFT is to be computed for an input sequence of the length other than 2 power m, the sequence is extended to by appending the additional zeros. Like if the value of n is 5, we cannot compute the value of the DFT by considering the value of n equal to 5, because we have to go with n equal to 4, or we have to go with the higher value n equal to 8, 16, so on. So we are going to append the zeros so that the sequence of length 5 is changed to a sequence of length 8. So that is what we consider. This is just an example spectrum what we have taken for identifying the magnitude x of omega. So we can see that there is variation in the spectrum which are not traced or considered by the DFT for n equal to 10. So that is what we consider. So if I increase the value of n from 10 to 16, then the DFT plot is be like this. So this is, instead of 10, it is going to be 16. So if I go with that concept, we are going to see the number of divisions which are done considering the frequencies, which is delta W.